On January the 30th, OM Systems will release 3 products, the OM1 Mark II and 2 lenses, with one of them being a super telephoto. Want to know more? Well, stick around after this short message for all the details. But first, subscribe to stay up to date on the latest camera news. And for all the minor news stories, all those news stories not quite big enough to have their own separate video, follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter. According to Andrea Pizzini, OM System will release 3 new products on January the 30th at 6 a.m. London time, 1 a.m. New York time. The OM1 Mark II, the 9 to 18mm Mark II, and a new super telephoto, the 150 to 600mm f5-6.3. Okay, first let's talk about the OM1 Mark II. The OM1 Mark II is going to take a slightly, well, there's some good and there's some bad, as Andrea says, and it's not going to have a global shutter. It's not going to have a new stacked sensor. In fact, it's not going to have a new sensor or image processor. That's right, this camera is going to have the exact same image processor and sensor as the OM1 Mark I, which is a pretty old sensor. It's a 20 megapixel sensor, but many people like it, so OM System decided to keep it. I mean, after all, if the technology works, they love it. They love the 20 megapixel sensor. Why bother going to all that extra effort to, well, give them a new sensor and change things up? However, that isn't to say that OM System didn't make some changes to the camera. So for example, the buffer, the internal buffer, has been doubled in size, so that's definitely good news there. And the autofocus system has seen improvements as well, specifically with human AI generation. So we have artificial intelligence providing us with some sort of either deep learning or other AI technology to improve the autofocus system, to improve subject detection, recognition, dealing with us humans. So that's good news there. But we also get a 14-bit RAW high-resolution mode as well. So, unfortunately, though, that does increase the price a little bit. This camera isn't going to be cheap, somewhere around 23 to 2,400 euros. US price is going to be somewhere over $2,000. Not exactly sure. It could be $20.99, $21, or even $22.99. Now, Andrea did say he had other details to provide on the 2 lenses, the 9 to 18mm Mark II, as well as the 150 to 600mm f5-6.3, but he's going to save those for another video. He's got pictures. He's just not allowed to release them right now. He's not trying to be a dude or anything and saying, hey, I'm just going to split this up. Sometimes when it comes to the information we're given, we're told when and what we can, well, share, and it's kind of a normal thing. So over the next couple of days, he's got more information to share. But also, I want to do a shout out to Andrea Pizzini right now. Please do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe to his YouTube channel. And he's also the owner and editorial director of Sony Alpha Rumors, but we're trying to get him up to 20,000 subscribers. He's been coming out with some really great stuff lately. And specifically, I'll get to the lenses shortly, but he put out a video just on the weekend confirming what I had said previously, that the leaked rumors for the Canon EOS R1, well, according to him, the source that provided that leaked information just can't be trusted. Now, he's good at providing camera registrations, but whenever he's put out leaked specifications on the new cameras coming out, the ones being registered, they've been forecasts. He's never been accurate about it, but even in the words of Sony, or even in the words of Andrea Pizzini, there's always a time to get it right. However, Canon rumors did come out over I think it was just before the weekend, and did say that while they haven't been able to receive validation, one of their very solid sources, a single source, has said that those leaked specifications on the Canon EOS R1 are pretty close. So they're in the ballpark, but at this point, don't jump to conclusions. We don't know what the sensor resolution is and all the other specs. I hope we find out over the next coming days and weeks, but it won't take that much longer. All right, back to the lenses that Andrea talked about. The 9 to 18mm Mark II, we don't have any more information on that, but the 150 to 600mm is an f5-6.3, and this lens is going to be, well, it's not going to be cheap. It's not going to be cheap at all. It's not going to be anywhere close to what Canon's selling the 200 to 800mm at. That thing sells for around $1,800, $1,899. The OM System, 150 to 600mm, no, it's not going to be the same price as the Sigma 150 to 600. It's going to be close to around 3,000 euros. That's right, 3,000 euros. So it's going to be a little pricey. US dollars, I'm thinking somewhere around 2,400, 2,500. And for those of you looking for the foreign exchange rate right now. You can't look at the foreign exchange rate because there's many things that, well, translate into the price between a US price and a European price. So we do have the foreign exchange rate, but there's also tariffs. There's also customs fees. There's also other things that are factored into the price. So quite often what we do see, even though the euro is worth a little bit more, quite often we see the US price being a little bit less. The taxes in the United States are certainly less, but also, and this is very important to notice as well, when we quote US prices, the tax for any given state is added on top of that. So you might see a price for, let's say, $25.99. But if you're in New York, you might pay an almost 9% tax, whereas if you're in New Hampshire or Nevada, you pay 0% tax. Whereas quite often when we're quoting a euro price, it already has the tax baked into that of around 20% or in and around 20%. I think in Denmark it's up to what, 24% now? Andrea Pizzini is really on the mark these days, coming out with lots of information. We've got another camera he's going to talk about very shortly in the next coming days. And don't forget what he said about the Canon EOS R1. And you know what, never mind. Here's Andrea in his own words about those leaked specs on the Canon EOS R1.
There are new rumored specs going around the web, and I wanted to give you just my quick opinion about this because the source itself is quite questionable. The source is E8M on Weibo, and it's actually very good in sharing reliable info when it comes to camera registrations from China, but those are official data, so he cannot make mistakes in there, but he's consistently sharing those kind of info, and it's always, of course, correct. But whenever he tries to share rumors, so specifications about cameras, he's basically most of the time wrong.
You'll notice that down below I have smart pre-order links for the OM Systems OM1 Mark II, but you can't pre-order it right now. They haven't made any announcement, but what'll happen is as soon as the embargo is lifted on January the 30th, somewhere around 6 a.m. London time, you'll be able to use these links to pre-order the OM1, as well as in the description down below, I have pre-order links for the 150-600, as well as the 9 to 18 millimeter. The reason why I do this is to save you time, because quite often what happens is whenever a company releases a new camera, we have it in body alone, we have it in various kit packages, and then of course retailers like Adorama, B&H, or Amazon.com will put together their own kit packages. So what these smart pre-order links will do, once the embargo is lifted, that's the key here, once the embargo is lifted, then it will show you for Adorama, B&H, or Amazon.com every single kit package available, and you can just go ahead and pre-order. It'll save you a few seconds, so if there's shortages, you can get your product before anybody else. So go ahead and bookmark these pre-order links, and then on the day of announcement, you should be able to refresh them and get your product a little bit before anybody else. So really exciting stuff. I also want to thank everybody who's used my pre-order links before. It really does help this channel grow. I get anywhere from 2 to 12% back, and that's what's going to allow me to make some really big purchases this year. The only problem I have right now is Canon isn't releasing anything. They haven't released anything so far this year, but with 11 and a half months left to go, or well, 11 months left to go now. We've only got 11 months and a week. I think there's a lot of year left, and we've got the R5 Mark II, the R1, a whole bunch of lenses, and well, there's a big Sigma announcement coming, but is it for the RF mount? We'll just have to wait and see. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, follow me on X, and we'll see you again soon.